Deeply Volatile Kemono. Let's talk about it. As you can see, I'm not in my usual setup. That is because I'm currently in my car because I didn't go to the studio today. I actually stayed home, hang out with the family. We went out actually to the movies a little bit earlier, and I wanted to do a video talking about Deeply Volatile Kemono because, as you guys can see in the gameplay footage of this video, you'll notice that that is me fighting the Lurid Deathstalker. Amidst all of the family activities that I was engaged in today, I still managed to sneak away for a couple of times to get a couple of tries in on Lurid Deathstalker. And the footage that you guys are watching is actually recorded directly on the PlayStation 5 because I'm not really using like a capture card or anything like that. In between attempts, I was just like, I'll fight him, and if I manage to beat him, I'll just use the PlayStation share functionality to capture the last 30 minutes or so of gameplay and use that footage in the video. That's why you also see there's a copyright thing that Koei Tecmo for some reason enforced on gameplay footage of Wild Hearts. That's why you see that on the lower left-hand side of the screen. That's also why you can't actually see the amount of potions I have left, which is kind of a bummer, really. I wish they hadn't done that, but unfortunately that's the way it works for Wild Hearts footage. But anyways, as you guys can imagine, if you are watching me fight Lurid Deathstalker, that means that I went ahead and I've beaten it, right? Now, if you were in the channel during the live stream, you will have noticed that I went on tilt when it comes to Deeply Volatile Kemono. Now, for starters, let me just point this out there. Me going on tilt on a live stream, this is not the first time it's happened. It's most likely not going to be the last. Because look, whenever you come to my live streams, expect to get an authentic window into how I feel. Because I don't like to put on a front. I don't like to be fake. If I'm having a good time, you'll see that I'm having a good time. If I'm not having a good time, you will see that I'm not having a good time. That's just the way that I always want to do my content. If I'm not going to have a good time, I'm going to let you know. I'm going to tell. Like I even said it on the stream itself. I recognized, hey, I'm on tilt. And for those of you that don't know what being on tilt is, being on tilt basically means that like you've been playing the game and you're getting upset at the game, but you're still playing the game. And that is making you play worse because you're playing the game while you're mad. At least that's the way that I interpret going on tilt. And I definitely went on tilt during Deeply Volatile Gold Chart, right? Now, the first thing that you guys need to ask yourselves is like, so why did Rurikhan go on tilt? The reason I went on tilt is because, and this is my personal opinion, I'm not stating this as a fact, this is how I feel about the Deeply Volatile Kemono, because I know that a lot of people have problems with the Deeply Volatile Kemono, but according to what I see people talk about, the problem that a lot of people have is that they feel the reward is not good enough for the Deeply Volatile Kemono system, whereas I look at it from a different angle. To me, fighting the Deeply Volatile Kemono, that's the reward. That's the whole thing. You have a very powerful set that you make by hunting regular Mighty Kemono, and eventually, if you properly min-max your set, you're going to get a set that you're going to decimate most Mighty Kemono without many problems. That's like the idea. The hunting the Mighty Kemono enables you to build a set that is fundamentally far superior to the capabilities of the Mighty Kemono to actually provide an adequate challenge for you. And the idea behind that is that you farm those sets and you craft those sets, and eventually you progress into hunting Volatile Kemono, and eventually progress into hunting Deeply Volatile Kemono. Now, the Volatile Kemono themselves, they're not much of a challenge. I don't even know what the difference is. I'm assuming they deal a little bit more damage and they have a little bit more health, because I didn't find them to be that challenging, the regular Volatile Kemono. And then the Deeply Volatile Kemono is just all the stats dialed up to 11, right? So to me, fighting Deeply Volatile Kemono, that is the reward. It's you grabbing like the best set that you can possibly make and pitching it against an opponent that is very, very tough. So why then did I go on tilt? The reason is that, in my opinion, the Karakuri system is not precise enough for the level of difficulty that the Deeply Volatile Kemono present. So let me give you a very easy example as someone who uses them all. There's a basic Karakuri which is called the Stake. I don't know how many of you guys use it because from my interpretation, it's not particularly useful on some of the weapons. And you might use it just for the traps because traps are like giga useful. So you're going to use the stake for the traps, right? But you're probably not, I mean, again, depending on the weapon that you're playing, you might not actually use it as a basic karakuri. What it does is you jump on top of it and it shoots like a zip line to the monster, and then it propels you towards the monster. Why is it particularly useful for the maul? Because with the maul, once it sticks to the monster, your character jumps off of it, and if you press the attack button, you're going to do a special attack that deals tons of damage. So it is one of the best moves for the maul, period. Okay? Like, for instance, for those who don't know the way the maul works, it goes like, hit once, extend, hit twice, extend, and boom. Land the big money winner. That's the way the maul works. That's the dream when it comes to dealing damage with the maul. Now, if you use the stake move, most of the times you're going to achieve damage on the level of the final hit of this 3-step extension attack. That's how good the stake move is. So therefore, as you can imagine, it's a particularly important move. Now, when you do it though, when you use the stake, depending on the kimono that you use it on, depending on I guess what time of the day it is, what phase the moon is on. Sometimes it'll work and sometimes it won't. And that is the problem. Like, listen, due to how the difficulty of Deeply Volatile Kemono works, you have very little wiggle room for making mistakes. Now that is something that I'm willing to accept, so long as the game provides me with the tools to be able to adequately do things. What that means is, if I see an opening to use the stake karakuri, and for some strange reason it doesn't work, that's gonna make me mad. And the reason it makes me mad is because, like, listen, you're demanding a certain level of precision from me. I expect your game to provide me with that same level of precision. And when you have things like a basic karakuri like the stake being very unreliable in how it works, not to mention that the attack animation itself is already unreliable because of the hitbox that you get for that attack is very punishing. Like, you need to be damn near inside the monster to make that attack hit. So the hitbox of the attack itself is punishing. So there's already a chance that even if the stake works perfectly, you miss the attack because the kimono moves or because your character in the middle of the jump backed away a little bit too much in the middle of the attack animation. There's already a bunch of different scenarios in where your attack with the stake can miss. But on top of it, there's also another bunch of different scenarios where, you know, the stake will shoot and your character will grapple onto the monster instead of jumping off. And you're like, well, great. There are other situations where the stake will just not work for random reasons. It'll just straight up not work. So that is very, very annoying if you're playing them all because it's one of your most important attacks. So there's that. Then there's also the fact that sometimes fusion karakuri will straight up not deploy. Like, for instance, there were actually several attempts during the live stream where I was trying to make the bulwark, which is the wall, which is just like spam 4 cubes. Boom, done, right? And what happens? It'll do the first 3 cubes, and then it'll say, can't be placed here. And I was just like, hell do you mean? There's space. There's space on the left. There's space on the right. I don't care if the arena has a problem. I can see that there's space on the left and there's space on the right. And because of the difficulty level that you applied to these Deeply Volatile Kemono, I can't afford for the bulwark suddenly to decide that it doesn't want to deploy. Some other times, my character is facing like this, and it will deploy karakuri like this. Why? And that is what gets me to be on tilt. Because again, if your game is going to demand a certain level of precision from me, I expect that same level of precision from the game. But anyways, that kind of explains to you guys why I went on tilt, is because a lot of the times the karakuri system ends up being unreliable. And in previous monsters, you know, it bothers me sometimes. It doesn't bother me that much because I can make a lot of mistakes and it's not going to cause me in failing the quests. Now, the Deeply Volatile Kemono quests are like 20-minute quests on a one cart. You can't die. If you die, that's it. That's the quest canceled. The quest is over. So, as you can imagine, you know, the combination of this, and I think that also just streaming can sometimes also make things a little bit more stressful, tied to the fact that, yes, on a personal level, I did not have the best week. I don't like talking too much about my personal life because I consider myself to be extremely privileged due to the fact that I can just, you know, my job, technically speaking, is going online and playing video games. It just kind of feels like, the hell do you have to complain, dude? There are people out there that have to be driving trucks, have to work construction. You're gonna be like, oh, poor little old me, I had a bad week. Dude, your job is literally playing. So I usually avoid that as much as I can. But yeah, last week was not the best week for me on a personal level. And you couple all of that together with the fact that, you know, I was going on tilt on Deeply Volatile Kemono, and you just don't become the most rational individual, and you end up making certain mistakes. So eventually in that stream that I went on tilt, we did end up killing the gold shard, Deeply Volatile gold shard. I forget what it's called. Seismic something, seismic dread quill, whatever. Seismic something, right? We killed him eventually. And then I was like, okay, now there's only one left before we can go ahead and do the Lahar back. And that was the Lurid Deathstalker. And the Lurid Deathstalker, yeah. I don't like the design decisions behind putting a wolf on crack cocaine on what is essentially a death box. Oh, and also give that wolf on crack cocaine a spinning attack that one-shots you. I don't think that's very reasonable, personally. I don't think that's particularly interesting design. You know, it's just like, oh yeah, we're going to put him inside this little house. He never leaves. He just stays there. And, yeah, he just like, he does a bunch of AoEs. And if he hits you, he's going to murder you. Now, in the stream, you guys will notice that I was definitely on tilt. Now, you know that I'm on tilt when I'm like crafting bows and cannons and being like, bro, I'm a cheese him. I'm a cheese him so bad, you'll see. And then I failed at that. Oh man, looking back at that, it's actually quite funny. But anyway, so how did I end up going back in there? You know, after you're on tilt, because when you're on tilt, you don't necessarily consider the smart decision. And the smart decision there was obviously being like, okay, Rurikhan, let's take a look at this. Your set is incredibly offensive, but you know what deals 0 damage against the monster? A dead hunter. A dead hunter deals no damage. That's basically the way that it goes. So what I should have done was actually go the other route. It's going to be like, okay, so look, the Karakuri are not going to be precise enough for me to block every single thing or exploit every single opening. And what is that going to cause? That is going to cause me, from time to time, I'm going to get hit. There's not much I can do about it. I mean, if I'm a better player, which I'm not, by the way, a lot of people might think that I would be arrogant and be like, oh man, I'm the best player, I do this for a living. No, I'm not. As a matter of fact, I always tell people, like, listen, if you see me do something challenging in a video game, you should look at that footage and think to yourself, if Rurikhan can do it, I can do it too. Because I am average at best. The only thing that I have as an advantage is that because of what I do, I get to play the games for longer than a lot of people do. That's pretty much it. That is my advantage. It is the amount of time that I get to practice. Because skill-wise, I don't think I'm that special. Oh, crap. Lights went out. My bad. Sorry. But skill-wise, I really don't think that I'm that special. I think I'm okay. But I think that most players have the capability to be far better than me. So basically, when I started looking at it like that, and I was like, I'm going to get hit. No matter what I do in this fight, I'm going to get hit. So what I need to do is to ensure that I can get hit and survive. So I went ahead and I grinded the Deathstalker set. Not the whole set, because I wanted to get some pieces from the Cobalt and Ice Tusk set. So we have the gloves and boots from Cobalt and Ice Tusk, because those can go into the Kemono path, and there are some pieces in the wolf that can't go into the Kemono path, but also because the boots of Cobalt and Ice Tusk, they give resurrection, which basically allows me to get hit to the point where I'll die and not die once. So that gives me one more life in those particular situations. So that's why I went with gloves and boots from Ice Tusk and Cobalt. Everything else is Deathstalker. And why? Just for the water defense. That's it. I just went straight up defense. Just give me high defense, high water defense, and I ate for water defense as well, for health and water defense. So we went full on defensive. And then on top of it, at the beginning of the fight, if you actually scroll back, you'll notice that my opener to the fight is the lantern, because that is, again, going to give me more defense so that I can get hit without dying. But yeah, that was pretty much the trick. I did that once I had a crap ton of defense so that I could make as many mistakes as I possibly could. I just went to work. I just went to work on it. Just go ahead, practice, practice, practice until we got the run that you're seeing. And the run that you're seeing is actually pretty dirty. And I say that as in, like, what do you mean dirty? I mean, like, it's not a clean run. It's not a particularly good run. I made a lot of mistakes. But the thing is, in a way, it's actually good that we don't have to repeat these, because I'm not a fan of some of them. I don't think that they're particularly fun fights. I want to do them for the challenge, but that's pretty much where it ends. So I want to do them once and not touch them again. So I've got the Lurid Deathstalker in the footage that you guys are watching. I've already done the chicken. I've done the Toontail. I've done the Deeply Volatile Gold Shard, whatever that was. And my next target's going to be the Laharbeck. And I'm going to get him too. The way that I'm going to do it is I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to craft the... what's it called? The Ember Plume set for the fire resistance, because I'm assuming it's going to be a fire monster. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to plop down the lantern. I'm going to make a bunch of mistakes. I'm going to eat for fire resistance. And we're going to nab ourselves a Laharbeck eventually. At least when you fail the missions, you don't lose the food buff. So there's that. You don't really lose anything. You're not really using any consumables. So it's just rinse and repeat. But yeah, I just kind of wish that Karakuri worked better. And I kind of wish that the game came out in a better state, because there's still people that are still having performance issues. And essentially what that creates is a situation where the game is not going to do as well as I would like it to do. Because I think that underneath all of the technical problems, there's actually a fantastic game in Wild Hearts. The problem is, there's a lot of technical problems, and, you know, those technical problems are going to keep the game from reaching the success that I wish it would reach. But, you know, it is what it is. Anyways, I don't know how long I've been recording for, because my phone's got, like, just the cameras turned towards me. But, I'm going to be calling it here, and if there's more footage, I'll just let that play out for the rest of the video. And if you guys got upset that I don't think people got upset that I got tilted, but, like, listen, let me just tell you, it's not going to be the last time. It's going to happen again at some point, because sometimes I get upset, and that's just a part of the experience. But hopefully, you know, you guys still enjoyed the struggle. But yeah, that's going to be it for today. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit it up with a like, subscribe, bell notification icon, all that jazz, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe, peace out.